You'll probably guess what this one is. I won't ask you because you probably know. So does anyone else know what bird this is? A white owl is exactly correct. There's another name for it as well, so it's called the white owl, and it's also called... It is, excellent, the barn owl. So fantastic, you all seem to know what a barn owl is. And then as well, hands up if anyone's been lucky enough to see a barn owl, but only in the wild, not in a cage or not in a bird of prey centre, only in the wild.
Well, I did see one, they let one free in this, it was this place that we went camping for one night with my dad, and there was this owl that he was in a cage, but they let him off.
Okay.
So I saw both.
Right, okay. Fantastic. And you saw barn owls in the wild?
I didn't see a barn owl, but an owl came to our house when I saw it.
Cool, that could have been a long-eared owl as well. I'm going to talk a bit about the other owls. There's 2 different owls that live in Ireland. But these guys, they're really, that's great that some of you have seen them. They're really, really tricky to see. So you can see the speck down there. You can see the sun is going down. So barn owls only come out, and probably one of the reasons that they're very difficult to see is that they only come out after dark. And this is a pretty hard question. Can anyone tell me what the name of an animal that comes out after dark is? Yeah? Yeah, an owl is one. And the name to describe that, so a name that describes all the animals, yeah? Very close, very close, very good guess. It's called Nocturnal, so you'll know that if anyone asks you future. So say like a badger that comes out at night, it's nocturnal. Yeah, exactly, a bat, perfect. So barn owls only come out at night. So if you imagine this time of the day, it's the middle of the day, you're in school, the barn owls, at the moment, they're going to be tucked away in bed. They're asleep. And then when you go home, you'll go home, probably do your homework, have some dinner, maybe watch some TV.
Relax before your homework.
Exactly. Well, that's good priorities, yeah. But then at the end of the day, you all have to go to bed. So when you go to bed, then that's around the time that the barn owl, that starts to get up, and then it has a long list of things to do, but it does them during the night. So it has to go out and find food, catch food, and make sure it makes it through the night. And then by the morning time, you're starting to get up. You have to get ready for school and head off to school. Then the barn owl has gone back to bed and taken itself back to bed. So that's nocturnal. It's active at night time. So it's kind of the opposite. You wake up in the morning, you go to school, do your homework, eat, watch TV, play games, do everything during the day, then finish up at night time and go to bed. The barn owl does exactly the opposite. So that's one of the reasons you don't see barn owls. A lot of the times when I'm out looking for barn owls, because I do a lot of work on them, I don't see them, but I can hear them. And I'm going to play the calls of barn owls now, and they might be a little bit loud, so be ready for them. And you probably expect that a lot of people think that owls sound with the normal twit-twoo sound, but a barn owl you'll hear now doesn't sound anything like that. So listen to what a barn owl sounds like. So that doesn't really sound like you would imagine an owl. So that's a female barn owl. And have you? At night time? Whoa, fantastic. That's it. Then, there's an owl living close to you. And that's a male owl. And a little bit later, I'll play the calls of the young owls, and I'll try and see, can you guess what the name for their calls are? So, one of the reasons, now I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about haunted houses, which don't actually exist. But if you can imagine those calls, if you heard those and it's nighttime outside and you didn't know what was making the calls, they could be a pretty scary sound, couldn't they? Because it's a loud screech, and that's why a lot of myths, they're called, a lot of stories about haunted houses have come about. Do you remember I said that all the different birds of prey looked different? So barn owls are really cool. Barn owls have pretty much superpowers. And I'll tell you what some of those are. So firstly, like the other raptors, they have really sharp talons or claws, and that's to catch their prey. One of the really cool things about barn owls is that they've totally silent flight. So their wings it's called specially adapted. So their wings have special feathers on them so that when the wind goes over them, they don't make any noise. They're really soft and they trap the wind. So I'll show you how that works. So I'll show you, this is a feather from a macaw. It's like a parrot. A friend of mine has some parrots, and yeah. And what happens with all birds is that when their feathers get old, they fall out and they grow new feathers, just like happens with your teeth. So this feather fell off the bird. I collected it, and I'm going to show you now. So if you can picture this bird flying and listen to the noise that it would make. So everyone be quiet for a second. It's pretty noisy, isn't it? Yeah? And now, so you're definitely going to hear that coming from a long distance away. This is a barn owl's feather. So listen to this. Everyone be really quiet and listen to this and compare. And tell me if you can hear anything. And listen really, 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 really hard. Nothing.
That's the loudest thing I ever heard.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's so loud, I don't know.
So if you can imagine that a barn owl, so the reason that it wants to be really quiet is that if it's out flying around at night, you can imagine if it was making a lot of noise, flapping around, making a whole heap of noise, that it wouldn't be able to catch any rats or mice because it's just going to frighten them away. A rat would hear this thing coming a mile away and decide, I'm getting out of here, I'm going to run into my burrow, exactly, or hide or run into the hedgerow, and the owl wouldn't catch it and it wouldn't have any food for the night. But because it's silent, they can't hear it coming, so it's a much better chance of being able to catch its food. As well as that, barn owls have actually incredible hearing. So we were talking about the golden eagles and their eyesight. Barn owls have pretty good eyesight, but they actually hunt mostly by listening, and their hearing is much, much better than ours. And when you look at a barn owl, you can't see its ears. Its ears are hidden behind its feathers. But the actual size of their ears, they've got huge ears compared to the rest of their bodies. It'd be, imagine, it'd be like if you were walking around and you had big elephant-sized ears on your head, but the rest of your body was the same. So, and to help them hear, you see the way their face is like this. This looks like a heart. Yeah. So that's actually like a satellite dish. So what that does is any sound comes, it hits against these feathers on just like a satellite dish that picks up signals for a TV, and then it funnels them into their ears to allow them to hear much better. And their hearing is so good that if you imagine that we were in this room and there was nighttime outside, it was dark, we didn't have any lights on, and we had an owl and a mouse, and the mouse was running around the floor, the owl would be able to catch it just because it can hear it, just because listen to the mouse, the little patter of its footprints, and so that's just how good their hearing is. And they need to be that good at hearing and at catching food in order to be able to eat. And this is what they're trying to catch. This is on the menu for barn owls. So you can see a lot of different, kind of mice, shrews, brown rats. Then sometimes if they can, frogs and bats, and also some small birds. So this is what the barn owls are looking for when they're out and about at night time. And check out that, Do you know what that is that it has in its mouth? Yeah, they are. It is a rat, yeah. Yeah. So it has really big wings for the size of its body, and that's to help it to carry big rats like that. So you can just see the size of that rat. And one of the reasons that everybody here, once I put the picture up of barn owls, you were all able to tell me that it was a barn owl, even though some of you have never seen a barn owl. And that's because they're really popular. There was a long time ago that they were called the farmer's friend, because if you were a farmer and you were having problems with rats or mice, the best thing to have around if you have problems with rats and mice is to have a barn owl around. Because these guys can catch, at this time of the year, they'd catch maybe 4 or 5 rats or mice a night. But when it comes to the summertime, when they have chicks to feed, they could catch up to 20, 25 a night. So to have them, the busy nights, so to have them living around a farmyard, if you're having problems with rats and mice, they're the best things to have. But there can be a little bit of a problem as well. If they're eating a lot of rats, and if you're using rat poison, what can happen is the rats might eat the poison, and then the owls won't eat the poison, but what might happen is the owls will eat the rats have eaten the poison, and then the poison can actually transfer to the owls, which is not good news for the owls.
I would never use rat poison.
That's good, yeah. Or sometimes, if you really have to use it, you can use it in the right way, but it can be a problem for barn owls and for loads of other raptors that feed on rats and mice.